Hello, fifth graders. I am here to teach you history. I'm going to start by reviewing material from last week. So I am reviewing material up to page 78 and study guide pages 54 and 55. If you have not done so, please stop this video and do that, and then come back to me to see what your next assignment would be. So up on the board is page 54, and this was about Fort Ticonderoga. And Ticonderoga sounds familiar because the pencils that you guys use every day in class are Ticonderoga pencils. There's a connection. So, why do you think Ethan Allen and his Green Mountain Boys were able to capture Fort Ticonderoga without firing a shot? They surprised the British. Okay, it was a surprise. What did they gain by taking Fort Ticonderoga? They gained control of the fort, cannons to be used by patriots, and a victory over the British. Okay, and then look at the picture that shows the design of Fort Ticonderoga and the surrounding walls. Why do you think the fort was built that way? And this here is like a possible answer. Okay, so it says the design provided lookout points, the surrounding walls provided extra protection. If you did not write exactly what's on the board, that's okay, as long as you have something written there that is related to this question. Okay? Now, this page is a very simple page. You can use the glossary in the back to answer these questions. But some of the words on here are Ohio River Valley, militia, pacifism, James Wolfe, Proclamation of 1763, Stamp Act, Sons of Liberty, and Townshend Act. So, make sure that you have answered all of those and those are ready to go and you're ready to move on. So in those pages that you were supposed to read, you read about two main things. One of those is the First Continental Congress. And the First Continental Congress is where representatives from all of the 13 colonies, okay, so one or two, came together in Philadelphia to talk about what they were going to do about King George and Parliament. Now, thinking back to the Intolerable Acts, it caused the closure of Boston's port, which means that businesses couldn't get what they needed, merchants couldn't do what they needed. So in the fall of 1774, the 13 colonies sent representatives to Philadelphia, and their goal was, what do we do about King George and Parliament and what is happening? We don't feel like we deserve to be taxed. We need representation if we are going to be taxed. So the results of this were that they were going to boycott British goods, which means that they were not going to buy British goods. So tea, paper, anything that the British made that they sent over to the colonies for them to purchase, they weren't going to do that. They were just going to say, we don't need that. They were going to boycott it. They also said that they were going to write a letter to King George explaining, hey, what are you doing? Hey, you're not being very kind, in the hopes that maybe that would help him see, hey, this isn't really fair, let's do something about it. And the third thing was that they agreed to meet the following year to discuss if there were any other issues, or if things got worse or things got better. Okay, the second thing that you learned about in these pages is the Battle of Lexington and Concord. Now, we have Britain there, and the Britain soldiers were in charge was General Gage, and General Gage was worried that the people in Massachusetts might rebel. And the reason for that is they were creating militiamen, men who were willing to fight against the British. Now, when he was worried about this, he sent a letter to Parliament in England and said, hey, this is happening, send more troops. And Parliament said, no. And so he was like, well, what do I do now? And so he kind of just waits. And then in April 1775, Britain actually gives him instructions to capture the rebellious colonists and take their guns and their ammo and anything that they had that could be a weapon against Britain. This led to the Battle of Lexington and Concord. And Britain did win this battle, but it did cost them injuries and soldiers, and they were unable to capture Samuel Adams and John Hancock, who were leaders of the militiamen at this time. Okay, this is just the first battle of many battles that we're going to read about. Okay, so those are the two things that you were supposed to learn about in those pages. So again, Continental Congress and the Battle of Lexington and Concord. Now today you are going to be reading some pages in your history book, and you're going to learn about what happens after the Battle of Lexington and Concord, and also the battle for Boston. And in the Battle of Boston, we're going to see that famous Battle of Bunker Hill. We're going to see that they actually declare independence. They say, hey, Great Britain, we're not part of you. We're declaring our independence from you. We want to be our own country. Okay, and we know the famous date, July 4th, 1775, is going to come up. That's when we celebrate our independence. You know, we get to say, hey, we are Americans. We are no longer part of British control. Okay, we're going to see that the British are in New York and what happens there. We're going to see how the war affected American life. We're going to see that there were foreigners in America as well. We're also, again, going to see civilian life. What was it like for people who were not soldiers or not part of, you know, the British, or they weren't part of the Parliament, or, you know, everyday Americans? What was their life like during the war? So, your assignment today is to read pages 79 through 85 in your history book, and to do study guide pages 54 through 59. And tomorrow I will show you the answers for those pages. Okay? Don't forget that you need to be going over the PowerPoint as well. And studying your states and capitals. That test is still going to happen despite this virtual learning. So, be studying your states and capitals, be studying that PowerPoint. Okay? Don't forget the songs that we do in class. As always, let us know if you have any questions. And now get to work. I will see you later. Bye.